Howard County, and maybe another hour from the intense part of the storm approaching the Dade County coast. Bob Sheets, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
We're keeping the Miami radar up continuously here as much as we can because I can't think of anything else that impresses on people that the storm is on our doorstep at this point. And if anybody has any last thoughts about finally getting off the beach or whatever, hopefully this will motivate them. We're seeing on the Miami radar, the live Miami radar, those yellow severe thunderstorms in that outer band. What kind of winds that can we expect in there?
Well, the airplane shows about 75 to 80 mile per hour winds in this outer band right out here.
Bob, tell me that once again. I'm sorry, you were stepped onto my ear.
In this here outer band here, the airplane is showing about 75 to 80 mile per hour winds, and those bands are coming along here. And then, of course, in here, that's the strongest part of the hurricane, right in the eye wall region, right around the eye there.
All right, we can see, if we can put up the live Miami radar, I know that you can't see our shot, but you're looking at a different thing there. On the west side of the eye, in other words, our side of the eye, we are seeing a semicircle of, looks to me like a VIP-3 there, at least. Of course, it's a long way out. That is indeed the eye wall, is it not?
This one out here, the VIP-3 that you're seeing all the way out here, that's getting fairly close to the coast here. The eye, that's some distance from the eye wall.
No, I'm talking about right around the eye. We can see a semicircle of at least VIP-3 and some VIP-4 in there, right around the eye itself.
That's the bigger eye there, that the about 20-mile kind of diameter of eye that you're seeing in there, and that's what you're seeing out there at a distance of about 130 miles or so.
All right, so the outer fringe there where we're getting, I assume, tropical storm force winds in that first band that's approaching the coast, what do we have, about 15 or 20 miles offshore now? Is that about where you figure?
The outer fringe, yes, and about here 50 to 75 miles from the coast, that's where we're going to see those near hurricane force winds as those bands come across.
All right, so we're talking about 3 or 3.5 hours for that based on a 15 or 16 mile an hour movement.
Somewhere around 2 a.m.
Okay. All right, Bob, once again, thank you very much, and we'll stay with you as long as we can here.
All
right.
We got a couple of notes while you were on the air with Bob. FP&L is advising us, which really comes as no surprise, that they're warning folks to expect your electricity to be off for a week. If you lose electricity, a week is what the ballpark figure that they're throwing out. And from what you have said, that would not be at all unusual.
No, as a matter of fact, just to say again, in Hurricane Betsy, the power was out in parts of the city here for about 8 days, and Hurricane Betsy was not even a hurricane in Dade County, except in extreme southern Dade County, but in Miami, Coral Gables, it was not of hurricane force. So, and that was 8 days, although we have, I guess, made some advancements in that area since then, but still, you can just imagine the task. First of all, before any work can be done.
An impressive radar. We're looking at South Florida. PBI is West Palm Beach, MIA is Miami, and EYW at the bottom of the screen is Key West. To the east of Miami, we see the eye very, very clearly. The westward motion, as you can see, continues, and the storm gets closer and closer to Miami. Already the outer bands beginning to affect Miami, and that's where we want to go live now. Dennis Smith, the Weather Channel's Dennis Smith, is standing by in Coral Gables, Florida. Dennis, the story there.
The story continues to be a slow increase. The stars that we talked about an hour ago have long disappeared. We have the cloudiness moving in. In fact, I guess only a meteorologist could appreciate this. We were watching some of the low-level clouds continue to zip around, almost following like one of the bands wrapping around from the west and moving back towards the southeast, and seeing more building up in the northeast, so kind of wrapping or circulating around us. We haven't seen any major rain problems, a few spits of rain over the last 1 hour period. For the most part, the dramatic increase in the winds. Now they're pretty steady at about 20, occasionally gusting up to about 40 miles an hour, and they continue to step on up as we see Andrew getting closer and closer. Where you have on the radar MIA, we are just a little bit farther to the south, so we're watching that eye very closely, and as it gets very, very close to the coast, it looks like our position may be on the southern end of that eye, or perhaps very close to the center of it. So we're going to keep a close on it with you and keep you updated on exactly what's going on. But for the most part, the most dramatic increase has been in the winds, Keith.
Dennis, it's 1 o'clock in the morning down there. Anybody out on the streets? Do you see any sign of life out there?
In fact, our crew had to go out on the streets for a little bit for a gasoline situation, and the gas stations were still open. At least one of them, that's all we needed to fill up the tank. So we're a much better situation there. But yes, there is a little bit, but it's really creeping now. I mean, it's down to a crawl, and anybody that's generally out and about is usually the sheriff or the police department or an occasional fire department car or something like that. But for the most part, things have really quieted down.
All right, Dennis Smith, that's Weather Channel's Dennis Smith reporting live from Coral Gables, Florida. We will continue to check in with him through the evening, and of course, as the weather permits. John, the barometric pressure, John Hope joining me now, has gone up just a little bit. What do you think?
It's been doing that slowly. I don't really look for much more change, though, just in a few hours before it makes landfall. It's pretty remarkable, Keith, that latitude stays exactly the same, 25.4. And if that doesn't change, the very center of the eye, the geometric center, will come in not very far from Homestead. And of course, that's going to put Kendall and Coral Gables and Key Biscayne, Cutler Ridge, South Miami, right in the very dangerous northern semicircle of the hurricane.
What about the rest of the Gold Coast as we head up through Fort Lauderdale and West Palm?
Well, as you get north of Fort Lauderdale and up toward West Palm, the winds should be gradually less, but still pretty strong winds and still pretty high tides. But the highest tides will be farther south, and the highest winds will be farther south.
So it looks like this still Category 4 on the Saffir-Simpson scale continues to head toward the coast. Tides will be rising and the weather deteriorating?
Yes, as you can see on the radar, the squalls are just getting in there now, and they'll be coming in with the vengeance now in the next few hours. And the winds will increase, the rain will increase, and the tides come up a little bit, and then a whole lot just about the time the eye gets there.
Okay, that's the east coast and the southeast coast of Florida. What's going to happen there right along the west coast from Fort Myers, say, south?
Okay, Fort Myers, unless there's some big change in the course here, it looks as if they would be north of where the eye comes out over the water, which means that their winds will be basically from the east. Now, what we're afraid of in an exiting storm such as this one is where the wind is southwest. In other words, south of where the eye crosses the coast. It looks as if that will be just in the extreme southern
Broward and Palm Beach County over to Monroe County. We look from Miami due east, and here is the eye of the hurricane. Right around the eye, that intense-looking area, that is the eye wall. That's where the most intense weather is going to be, especially from the eye and north. Notice how this motion is continuing toward the west. That motion is expected to continue, which is likely to make the landfall right in this area. So as we head from Homestead northward, that's where most of the destruction is likely to be. We have a crew down there in Coral Gables, Florida. Dennis Smith, the weather seems to be heading downhill there. What's the latest?
Keith, we're continuing to experience a worsening condition in the weather pattern right here. Once again, squalls of rain are coming on through. If you remember early in the evening, we had a benchmark. It was a flag that we were watching to see how the direction was flipping around as well as the wind speed. I don't think we can be using that anymore. It's about torn up and about ready to come off. Give you an idea of how strong the winds have picked up over the last couple of hours. Again, the rain, they're coming in as one would expect in a tropical situation in squalls, where we'll go through a period of very heavy rain, then loosens up a little bit. We're just kind of spitting right now, but I can hear the winds picking up behind me. We've seen the characteristic pops of blue that we experienced when we went through Hurricane Hugo, and that's the power lines snapping off the transformers or the poles themselves, and we've seen a lot of that in the distance. Fortunately, we still have power and we're still up and broadcasting, but that may be a situation that we need to be concerned with in the future, is the strength of these winds and what they may do to our power. We've seen and heard about some reports of damage around the Pompano Beach area, mainly from trees down, and also some damage from roofing being stripped back and the such, but no major damage reported in the area of South Miami, or excuse me, the southeast coast near Miami over the last 1 hour. But again, we're keeping a very close eye on Andrew as it continues to move towards the west.